Hey everyone, it's Miserable Movie Man back once again with another video. Just got out of the cinema having watched F1 the movie and wanted to share my thoughts. I'm a big fan of racing films. I mean, Tom Cruise in Days of Thunder, even though people say that's just Top Gun in a car, it is an incredible film. I love watching that film. I can always watch it when it's on. Really enjoyed Ford versus Ferrari. I thought that was an incredible film too. Brilliant performances. And so I was curious to see how F1 the movie would treat the subject material, because obviously F1 as a motorsport, even though I'm not a huge fan, I do follow it a little bit, is the fastest and the best in the world. So it was interesting to see how Brad Pitt and Joseph Kosinski approached that material. Kosinski did Top Gun Maverick as well as Tron Legacy, so I was expecting big things from this film. And I'll say it didn't really disappoint. I thought the film was really good. It's not like incredible by any stretch of the means, but it does everything it's supposed to do, and it does it all very well. That's pretty high praise coming from me, who's pretty miserable about a lot of films. But we have seen this before in even in Top Gun Maverick, when Mav comes back. In this film, it starts with Brad Pitt winning Daytona, and so you kind of see the difference between Daytona and F1, even though it was nice to see it. And Brad Pitt is that kind of more common character now, that stereotypical aging guy who could have been amazing and is given another shot to try and help out a younger rookie and reclaim some glory for wish fulfillment that never quite occurred in his life. Similar to quite a few roles Brad Pitt's played. I mean, I think it was a bit like this in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, in Ad Astra, in The Big Short. Similar character to Tom Cruise's character Maverick in Top Gun. So we're seeing more of these films of aging folks who are given the big screen treatment to recapture that sort of past glory, that youth that they could have been. And I thought he played the sort of grumpy old absolute expert really well. Now you get kind of a little bit of this from Duvall in Days of Thunder, and of course Tom Cruise is the young hotshot that thinks he's better than Michael Rooker. And that dynamic of old and young competing, clashing against each other, but actually ending up bonding, was done very well in this film, similarly in the way it was done in Days of Thunder. I thought Days of Thunder did it better, personally. I thought they were more at each other's throats, and it was, well, I guess Michael Rooker in that film was more of a current champion. But in this one, Damson Idris plays a young hotshot rookie who really doesn't like Brad Pitt. And Brad Pitt thinks that he's what everyone assumes him to be, which is cocky and arrogant and only thinks for himself. And of course, throughout the film, they get to know each other, they get to like each other, they get to respect each other, and they use a lot of teamwork to help them win. So this review will have spoilers, just want to let you know. I thought Javier Bardem was good as the owner. Ruben, maybe a little bit wasted. I could have done more scenes with him. He's such a good actor, so talented, that I wanted to see more of him when he was on screen. Kerry Condon does a good job as the sort of head female chief engineer, and being a woman in a man's world, which I think, if I read correctly, was based on a female engineer at one of the teams before. And in fact, a lot of this film is kind of based on incidents from F1 history, or famous crashes, or famous ways of winning, or even famous tactics from teams. So a lot of that was put in, and that was really good. I thought the driving scenes were really amazing. I thought seeing them in the cars were incredible. I read that Brad Pitt and Damson Idris did a lot of their own driving. I'm not sure how much of that driving they did on the track with the other drivers, but you can see, at least in the last race, a few shots where there are other cars that could be green screened in. Not sure about that, but at least you definitely get the sense that they're doing their own driving, which was really great. And Brad Pitt's cheekbones squashed up in an F1 helmet are undeniable. They're so recognizable that you really couldn't get a stunt guy to do that. So any kind of face shots for him look good. Damson Idris as well. I thought that the plot of the plucky underdog race team trying to win races again was very much pulled out of Days of Thunder, and in fact this film was originally supposed to be a sequel to that movie. But I think this film hits all the right notes. It has the plot points of the characters and their development as they arc through being more mature in Damson Idris's case and helping people and being more understanding and less out for themselves in Brad Pitt's case. So that was a nice touch. Having obviously you have to have a villain of some kind, a board member, which was in it, played by Tobias Menzies, who does a good job playing those villains. He was in Rome as well, as was Kerry Condon. He did a reasonable job of that, although you always knew something was off about that dude the minute he was first on screen. And then you got the race scenes themselves, so great to see. Amazing how they got so much footage with the actual Formula One seasons that they filmed in. Really does give you that sense of being there. I thought it was a little bit kind of melancholic the way Brad Pitt describes the feeling of driving. It's a bit similar to Tom Cruise talking about it in Days of Thunder. And you kind of knew at the end when he was racing in that last lap, it was going to reference how he felt. But again, it's a nice way of rounding it off. They set it up and they deliver it well. So from that perspective, I thought it was enjoyable. I do think it would be a great opportunity for a sequel if Brad Pitt goes up against Cole Trickle. Sonny Hayes versus Cole Trickle. I would love to see that. That could be amazing. Maybe each of them have a protege that they can be coaching, and those folks can come up against each other. I thought Ford v Ferrari was a little bit better than this film. Not by much, but definitely a better film for me in terms of strength of performances. I think also limiting to those two characters in Ford v Ferrari helped a little bit. There were a lot of characters in this, and sometimes they were a little bit one note, and you kind of knew where they were going. But it was still enjoyable. And seeing Kasper Smolinski obviously argue with Brad Pitt and then come around to his way of thinking, and then everyone coming around to his way of thinking was something that was, I think, obvious that was going to happen. You've seen these notes before, but again, as I said, they executed it well. I thought some of the crashes were a bit crazy. I'm not sure how he can fly up through the air, sort of really high up, flip that many times and land with just a few burns. I mean, I didn't think the roll cages were that strong. But, some of this stuff is based on real Formula One accidents. Maybe they've taken a few accidents together and pieced it together. And Brad Pitt, after his injuries before and being allowed to race, it's weird that no one would do a full medical on him before he was allowed to race. I think there were a few inconsistencies there that I'll overlook for the sake of entertainment. But, the tactics he used, the old school tactics that people may not know about, of pushing the lines and blurring the lines of what's allowed in F1 racing, was nice to see at the start. I think he would have easily been disqualified from most F1 races long ago if this was real life. But, they had to inject some tension. They had to allow Brad Pitt to kind of help them in ways that they hadn't thought of before, being, the top-class, efficient Formula One team that they are. So it was nice the way that they did that, but again, a little bit of a stretch for me. And it was nice at the end, Brad Pitt, his age, even though he won, shouldn't be winning a race against the world champions and against the rookie of Joshua Pierce. So having him win in the way he did was probably one of the most believable ways that it could have happened, even though he was driving really well. And I guess they wanted to give that fairy tale ending. So, overall it was a nice sort of rounding out of the film. Whether we'll get another one, I mean, there's a little sort of mini post-credit or mid-credit scene, I guess, where he's racing in Baja. I don't know. But overall, I thought it was a good film, very enjoyable. I would definitely give this a thumbs up for people to watch in cinema, especially if you like driving films and car films. Maybe a 7.5 out of 10. As I said, doesn't really tread any new ground other than the really amazing race scenes. But again, they're also really well done in Days of Thunder. And maybe Joseph Kosinski is the new Tony Scott. I mean, who knows? He's certainly on the basis of his filmography, he could be. But yeah, good characters, enjoyable, nothing that you haven't seen before, but executed really well. Definitely go check it out. Let me know what you think. In comments below, did I miss anything? Did you agree, disagree? As usual, please like, share, and subscribe to help support the channel. And catch you next time.